What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out a couple of brand new cards that just got revealed in Chaos Impact. I believe that these are technically Mazar and Kaito support cards because I think that it was Kaito who played Star Liege in the Zexo anime, but the Link Monster definitely feels like a Mazar card. Anyways, let's go ahead and check out the Star Liege support card first. This is Star Liege Dragon Seifert. It is a level 4 light dragon monster, 1800 attack, 0 defense, so excellent stat line for a level 4 monster. First and second effects are both hard once per turn. However, you can use them both in the same turn. The first effect says you can send any number of dragon monsters from your hand or face up field to the graveyard. That is a cost. Add from your deck to your hand one dragon monster whose original level equals the original levels of the sent monster or monsters. Second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one level 8 light or dark dragon monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So this is actually really weird, and it was bugging me so much that I did a quick card search on YGO Pro, and sure enough, this is the first main deck monster for the Star Liege archetype, because I was thinking to myself, like, are there any Star Liege level 8 dragon monsters that maybe I've just kind of forgotten about? No, there's really just the Xyz, which means you're basically going to be using this card in dragon decks. Now, obviously, there are tons and tons of dragon archetypes in support, so obviously that card, or this card, has that going for it. One of the first things I thought about was this is kind of nice because it actually made something like Light and Darkness Dragon searchable. I mean, imagine just pitching a Blue Eyes White Dragon and then being able to search a Light and Darkness Dragon is actually pretty awesome. Or maybe if you're playing Blue Eyes and you have like 2 dead copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, you could pitch one Blue Eyes White Dragon and then search Alternative Dragon and actually be able to summon that, or vice versa. If you have 2 alternatives, you could actually like search a Blue Eye so that you could summon one of them. This card can also pitch itself, which is nice because you could normal summon it, you could kind of like tribute itself, and then you could get like a level 4 dragon from your deck if you needed like a Quips Wyvern or something like that. I mean, honestly, if you really just look at the effect of this card, really, because of how many dragons there are out there, the sky's kind of the limit. And oh my goodness, Lord forbid Konami actually does something crazy like unban the dragon rulers. I mean, imagine pitching one dragon ruler and then being able to search like another dragon ruler. Like, that would be nuts. And then you banish the first dragon ruler you pitched, and then you search a third dragon ruler. Like, oh my god, that would be insane. You look at the second effect, and that's obviously pretty nice as well. It works with those Blue Eyes and those Light and Darkness dragons and a lot of those big level 8 dragons that are played in like Blue Eyes and some of those other decks out there. I really do feel like this is one of those cards where there's only really one negative in my opinion about this card, and that is the fact that it probably is going to use your normal summon because it has to get itself on the field somehow. And if you are searching for a big dragon monster that maybe cannot be special summoned, if you're searching for something like Light and Darkness Dragon, then you probably are not going to be able to put that monster on the field that turn. Also, Red Eyes Metal Darkness Dragon, also kind of searchable with this card. Assuming that that card is not banned by the time that we get this into TCG, this seems like an incredibly good card. And honestly, this was like one of those cards that's just going to get better and better and better upon, you know, time going by. Next up, we have a brand new Link monster. Some people are comparing this card to Lavalval Chain already, which is ridiculous. This is Galaxy Satellite Dragon. This is a Link 2 monster, Dark Dragon, 2000 attack, and its link points are bottom left and bottom right. It requires 2 dragon monsters to summon, which if you're playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh right now, you know that that's the same conditions for the Heraldic Link monster, and that thing's being played in everything from Pendulum Magicians to Thunder Dragons, and then obviously like actual dragon decks. The first and second effects are both hard once per turn, however you can use them both in the same turn. First effect says during either player's battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard, then target one number Xyz monster you control whose original type and attribute are dragon and light. Until the end of this battle phase, have all battle damage your opponent takes. Also, that target's attack becomes equal to the number in its name times 100. Second effect, during your opponent's end phase, you can choose one card from your deck and place it on the top of your deck. Okay, so let's start with that first effect because it is pretty freaking wild, especially if you're going for the monster that they probably want you to go for, because Mazar's kind of boss monster in Zexal was number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. If you go for something like Tachyon Dragon and you use the effect, your Tachyon Dragon will become 10,700 attack, which that is actually like some stuff from the anime. You'll probably be able to wreck your opponent, or at the very least run over any monster that they have on the field and still do a ton of battle damage, even if the battle damage is halved. However, if you go for a different target, it's like you kind of get just ridiculously inconsistent results, because you could have something like another competitive card, right? We all know that number 38, Hope Harbinger, like that's a pretty good card. Thunder Dragons will play it. It sucks up a spell. It forces your opponent to attack it. If you use the effect with Hope Harbinger, you're only going to 3,800 attack, which is only 800 more than the card kind of starts with. So, and when you get half battle damage, it kind of makes the entire thing pointless. So you look at these like the monster pool that you have to work with, and it really feels like your results are going to be so drastically different from card to card. I mean, you could even go for number 62, the Galaxy Prime Photon Dragon, and that would be decent results because that guy would go to 6,200 attack. I really wouldn't see any reason to go over or to go for that card over something like Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. It's interesting because that effect could be potentially like busted, or it can be kind of average. The fact that it can be used from the graveyard does kind of definitely help it, because if nothing else, you're just getting a bonus effect for free that maybe your opponent can't really they can't really account for. They can't really, you know, do anything about, because it's activating in the graveyard. The second effect, I'll admit, is basically Lavalval Chain. You take any card from your deck and then you stack it right on top of your deck. But the thing that people got to understand is this is way slower than Lavalval Chain, and I think that Konami specifically designed it to be a lot slower than the original Lavalval Chain. Lavalval Chain, when it hit the field, it immediately could just stack your deck, and then you could find a way to draw and add that card to your hand. This doesn't activate until your opponent's end phase, and while it is kind of nice because once your opponent ends their turn, you'll basically be able to draw whatever card that you want from your deck, which is quite amazing. You gotta find a way to keep this card alive during your opponent's entire turn. Now, it is kind of nice the fact that it does feel a little bit like icing on the cake, because if your opponent does threaten this card, you could obviously just launch it for its first effect, no harm, no foul. But if you know, are able to keep this card alive, then you get that ridiculous second kind of bonus effect. I just don't know how often I see that happening. Like, I mean, it's a 2,000 attack monster, doesn't really have any protection. It's not like your opponent can't threaten it fairly easily. I mean, if this card does survive, I do see that second effect being game breaking. Overall, this is a pretty good card, but it is kind of just locked into, like, if you summon this card, I would really say that you need to be using that first effect. Like, don't summon this card and just kind of hope that it lives for the second effect. I don't really feel like that's kind of worth it. The second effect should kind of just be icing on the cake. It should put you over the top and hopefully get you to the perfect card that you need to win the game. The first effect is really what you should be using it for, specifically for summoning, or specifically in conjunction with like Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, because again, it's going to be almost 11,000 attack, and that's pretty good. But let me know what you guys think of these new cards. Leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.